Now, I am thrilled to introduce our speakers and panelists for the webinar. First, I will introduce Thomas Wee, who is with Liu Marketing Associates. Now, Liu Marketing Associates is the regional representative of WUSADA, and Thomas, who is the regional director, supervises and organizes events for WUSADA in the ASEAN region. Now, before this role, Thomas worked in telecommunications and IT, including Hewlett Packard. He is married with grown-up children, and Thomas enjoys science fiction, good food, and meeting new people. Next, we have Karen Richards, who is currently the agricultural attaché for Singapore, based at the U.S. Embassy in Kuala Lumpur. She brings experience from previous USDA, Peace Corps, and the Nature Conservancy roles. Karen Richard also holds a J&D in International Law concentration at Suffolk University Law School. Next, we have Jasmine Azinski, who is currently the agricultural attaché for Indonesia, based at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta. She previously served at USDA Dakar, Senegal, among other postings as well. Jasmine graduated with a master's from the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University and volunteered at Peace Corps in Africa. Next, we have Alain Tan, who is the CEO of PT Kafa, a large food importer based in Jakarta, Indonesia, since 2000. His distribution network is across Indonesia, covering 15 major cities and surrounding. Together with his partner and team, he serves over 50 supermarket chains and food service operators at 300 outlets and has participated in WUSADA missions since 2015. And lastly, we have Mr. Jay Lim, who is the Business Development Manager at ATT Global and AIT Fine Foods, Malaysia, which was established in 2003. AIT Fine Food has grown to become one of Malaysia's leading distributors of ambient special foods to over 250 locations in Malaysia. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Jasmine, who's going to give us a market briefing.
Hey, thanks, Chloe. You go ahead and control the slides then. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? So I am the agricultural attaché in the Office of Agricultural Affairs at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta. And I'm going to give you a quick country overview of the market here in Indonesia. In Indonesia, it's a very, very interesting market. It has a huge population that a lot of Americans don't seem to be aware of. They have almost 280 million people now, but they're scattered over a massive archipelago of islands. But most of the people live in this middle island called Java Island. And it has a very young population, with over half of the population being millennials and Gen Zers. So they're very tech savvy, very young and open to trying new products, which is always great for marketing. However, Indonesia is vast majority of Indonesians are Muslim. We'll get into that later, but halal is a very important aspect of marketing in this country. And even though the economy is growing and GDP per capita is growing, it's still relatively low to other countries within Southeast Asia. But in the big cities where there's large concentrations of people, is where you'll find like the best market for American products. Imports in particular are very expensive compared to local equivalents. So it's the major cities like Jakarta and Yogyakarta and Bali that will serve your market best. So the marketing opportunities and challenges in Indonesia. As I mentioned, there's a lot of strengths here. There's a lot of positives here. Very tech-savvy consumers. Interestingly enough, Indonesia is one of the top 5 countries in the world in regards to time spent on social media platforms, and that's for all 5. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and X. And Instagram in particular is where like it is the marketplace now. The physical marketplace has been replaced by Instagram. So any good marketing will have a very strong Instagram base here. And social media influencers are very powerful partners in this market. There's this expanding middle class. However, weaknesses, like I mentioned, the people are all very spread out, except for the big concentration of population on Java Island. There's inadequate infrastructure outside of Java, so cold storage and those kinds of very important infrastructure. And then transportation costs between islands are also very expensive. Uh, Institutionally, there are many challenges on the business climate side. So corruption is very rampant, and actually you'll more likely get in trouble for not participating in corruption than for participating in corruption. It's very pervasive. Very unpredictable regulatory environment. Our office is blindsided like every week with some new regulation or new proposed regulation. And the government's answer to one bad policy is to enact another bad policy. So very unpredictable, very knee-jerk kind of policy making here. Owners, facility registration and import requirements. So we have some cheese facilities that have been waiting, 2-3 years for final approval. So it's just, you have to be very patient and very willing to provide all kinds of documentation that you might not be comfortable with. They want to know the shoe size of like everybody in your company, basically. Like not that bad, but just to give you an idea. They want to know everything. They want every document that you possess. So just keep that in mind. And then the biggest challenge of all that we're hearing from companies is the mandatory halal requirements and labeling that will be enforced starting this October 17th, 2024. All products that can be halal certified must be halal certified. And it doesn't mean that this market is closed to you if you have non-halal products, like if your products contain pork or alcohol. This is still a potential market for you because even though this market is vast majority Muslim, there are still 35 million people who are not Muslim who can potentially consume those products. However, those products must be labeled not halal, contains such and such. So you can't sneak in your product as non-halal and then just put it on the shelf. Like they will be on the lookout for that. So it's a binary choice right now, either halal certified and labeled that way, or not halal certified and labeled as non-halal. I'll move on to the next slide so we can get to some of the more pressing things. So Indonesia is Indonesia imports a lot of consumer-oriented products, so mostly from the People's Republic of China, Australia, and New Zealand. So we have a lot of competition in front of us. New Zealand and Australia, they provide a lot of the same kinds of products that we do, but they are a lot closer. So the lead time often gets in the way, especially when import licenses are delayed. For example, beef import licenses are notoriously slow to be released. So when they are eventually released, then all the importers kind of want to go to the nearest place, and that's Australia and New Zealand, because our products often take 45 days or longer to get here. So that's a big challenge for us vis-a-vis our biggest competitors, Australia and New Zealand. There are a lot of duties and imports relative to other Southeast Asian countries. I hear that they're not that bad, but since a lot of people in our crowd are processed product oriented, the duties can range from 5 to 20%. If you'd like this level of detail, we do have public reports available. Please contact my office if you'd like us to submit it to you. But they're also available online. Just Google FAS Jakarta and you can find very detailed marketing reports that are free for public consumption. So getting into halal now. I have some good news and some bad news. So recently, a month or two ago, we were successful in getting not one halal certifying body, but 5 halal certifying bodies in the U.S. Accredited to issue halal certificates for U.S. products, and all 5 of them have the food and beverage scope. So if your products are food and beverage, you can pick any one of these 5. But if it's a slaughtering product like beef itself, then you'd have to go with one of the companies that have one of the 4 that have a slaughter scope. But for food and beverages, processed products, all 5 of them are qualified, and they're spread out all over the U.S. Tampa, Omaha, Iowa, uh, Illinois, and the Washington, D.C. area. So they're spread out all over. My recommendation is just contact all of them, see who will give you the better deal, because they're all equally accredited to Indonesia. So now the variable is, okay, well, whose audit is going to be the most expensive for me? Whose audit is going to be the most invasive for me? Or who can do the audit the soonest? Things like that. But do keep in mind, halal certification is not like a rubber stamp kind of certification. It is very invasive. They will come physically inspect your facility. They will ask you about every single ingredient. So the more ingredients your product has, the more expensive and time consuming and cumbersome your halal certification process will be. Ironically, halal certifying commodities like just beefsteaks or like soybeans, because the stream is single stream, there's only one ingredient, it's very easy to get those kinds of products halal certified. But if you have a soup with 50 ingredients and additives and this and that, that could be quite painful. And if you have a whole line of products, let's say you have like a pea soup, and then this other pea soup has beef in it. Each product, each SKU is treated as a separate product and has to be halal certified separately. So it is quite onerous. There's no like one big umbrella certification that you can do. But please contact these HCBs, and they can give you the details on what you would have to undergo to get halal certification for the Indonesian market. That's another downside to halal, is it would be nice if we had one international halal standard, so that whatever you do for your product to become halal certified, it would apply everywhere in the world. However, that's not the case. Each country prides itself in having its own more rigid standard for halal certification. So Indonesia's has a very long list of what it considers as the standards that you need to meet to be considered halal. So each of these 5, because they're accredited to Indonesia, they know what the rules are for Indonesian halal. So they can tell you what you'll need to do. And then you can decide for yourself, is this too much to ask of my company? Do I really want to enter this market or not? But yeah, please do keep in mind, if you want to reach 86% of this population, it will need to be halal certified. And then, as I mentioned, we have a ton of very detailed reports. Our marketing specialist is very dynamic. Her name is Novi, and she gets out there and she physically goes. Actually, she's in Yogyakarta right now doing one of our travel shows. So she goes out and meets like new distributors, new restaurants, new retail chains, and everything, to try to find new opportunities for U.S. products all the time. And in doing so, she gets great intel for her marketing report. So we have a food processing ingredients report. We have a retail market report, HRI report. So we have all kinds of reports depending on what niche you're trying to get your products into. So please do reach out to us, or you can find these are all available online, all for public consumption to no charge. So and this is the contact information for our office. So please do reach out, and hopefully you'll consider if our market is right for you. Please reach out to us, and we're happy to help you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Next, we'll be hearing from Karen Richards. Karen, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I don't have any slides, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk about Malaysia and touch on Singapore here quickly too. So I'm Karen Richards. I'm the agricultural attaché out of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We have a team of 4 local staff in Malaysia, 2 Americans, and then we also oversee Singapore, where we have 2 local staff as well. And our office also oversees Brunei. We don't have a lot of products coming into Brunei, but if you happen to have anything, please reach out. We're happy to help you as well with Brunei. So overall, Malaysia is a middle income country. It's about 33.7 million people there. GDP is about 407 billion. Per capita, that it turns out to be income about 13,000 a year. So pretty good spending money for the population. Generally speaking, the country is pretty open to trade, and the regulatory framework, the policies reflect that. In our food retail space, this is a really dynamic area. We've seen since COVID a move away from the hypermarkets, which used to be really popular and kind of dominated the food retail space. And now we're seeing smaller and medium-sized markets, kind of the hypermarkets essentially broke up and they've moved into the neighborhoods throughout the city in Kuala Lumpur. And they're sort of these, I would almost call them kind of bougier, small and medium-sized markets. A lot of them have restaurant spaces or cafes inside of them. They're importing foods, especially consumer-oriented foods from all over the world, really unique and different styles. In the less affluent areas, you'll see kind of more traditional, some of the wet markets, or even just smaller fresh market stalls or small food spaces, and then sort of a more traditional grocery store, again, small, medium size. But that's a really interesting space that we're really focused on, and I know a lot of people here have consumer-oriented products. In food service in Malaysia, we have a really extensive, wide variety of cuisines, all styles of food from Asia, Middle East, Western styles, generally pretty good cold storage, modern styles sort of flow into the food service. So generally pretty easy to get your food in. Consumers here are really open and interested in trying new things. So it's again just a really open and wide style of food. Format wise, everything from fast food, kind of the fast casual style that's really common in the US is definitely picking up in Malaysia. So we've had a lot more of that style food and format. And then everything from there up to high end, especially in the hotel sector, is really popular. Food processing, this is an area I really want to highlight for Malaysia because this is what we're focusing on, especially in kind of that 5-10 year outlook. Malaysia government is putting a lot of emphasis on the food manufacturing sector. So current companies that are in food manufacturing are expanding what they're doing. Not only are they producing food for Malaysia, but they're looking to export and to be a leader and a hub for food manufacturing for the Southeast Asia region and beyond. We were hearing talk about, exporting to the US, exporting to Europe, but really being a hub for exporting, especially for the Southeast Asia region. And there's new companies as well, so they're building and they're developing and they want to be innovative, so they're looking for new foods. If you have food ingredients, this is definitely a country that you want to be looking at. Of course, that comes with what I haven't touched on and that Jasmine brought up right away, which is halal. There's not a mandatory halal in Malaysia quite to the same extent in Indonesia. There are products, if you have meat, you need to be a lot of dairy, mandatory halal. Pretty much everything else is voluntary. Having said that, over 60% of the population in Malaysia is halal, and so food service, manufacturing, they cater to that population. And so if you want to be working here, we recommend you really are going to need to be halal certified. It's not necessarily a super easy process to be halal certified for Malaysia, and we do recommend that you have the Malaysian certification. But it is, again, you'd have to go through the process to decide whether or not it's worth it for your company. But I do want to highlight again the manufacturing sector, especially. It's a good country to be doing business in because it's so open to trade. Having said that, again, it's, you have to look at it for yourselves and do the cost benefit analysis to see if this is where you want to be doing work. And of course, again, there's also exceptions to that. If you're a pork producer or you've got alcohol, ignore my halal spiel. And if you want more details, look at our gain reports. I won't go into all the details now. And then I quickly want to touch on Singapore because it's just a little bit different than Malaysia. So Singapore is a city-state, so very, very small, but mighty, you might say. Just under 6 million people here and per capita income of $85,000 a year. So very, very affluent country. Across the board, the market here is highly developed. It's very, very competitive. And the US has about a 7% market share, so pretty stronghold, a lot of competitors in the region. Again, same as Jasmine was saying, we have a lot of competition with Australia and New Zealand here, but also the UK and some other European players. In fact, one thing that I always mention is that the largest importer to Singapore is France, it's about 15% market share, and it's almost entirely wine. So if you are a wine producer, you've got a little bit of competition with the French. We've got a huge and busy food service sector here in Singapore. So Singapore hosts a lot of international meetings and events, a really steady and busy tourism sector. So there's a lot of opportunity in food service. And on the retail side, it's very consolidated. There's basically 3 main players that you need to be connected with, and that's NTUC Fairprice, Dairy Farm International, and Shengxiang. And then just a quick note on food processing. Obviously, Singapore, very small, not a lot of space for manufacturing. However, there is quite a bit of research and development here for some companies. In fact, a few weeks ago, we were touring Mondelez is expanding some of their research and development for snacks and some other products that they have. So if you are, again, in food ingredients, it might be that you want to get connected with some of the companies here that are doing research and development and then manufacturing elsewhere. So that's all I have on Malaysia and Singapore.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen. All right. It looks like we did have a question regarding Indonesia. So I'm just going to kind of go up to the top here. So thank you, Abigail, for your question. Abigail is asking if the tourism industry driving the importation of wine/alcohol in Indonesia.
Jasmine, you want to take this?
Sorry, cut off a sec. Could you repeat?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Is the tourism industry driving the importation of wine/alcohol in Indonesia?
I mean, everyone knows. So, funny enough, more Americans know about like Bali and think Bali is its own country than they've heard of Indonesia. But Bali is a part of Indonesia, and Bali it functions kind of as its own country. So that's where like the big concentration of international tourism happens. I mean, there's a lot of internal tourism that, maybe expats do or Indonesians do to other unknown places. And we have been working with the Ministry of Tourism. They have a huge goal of expanding the tourism that's so concentrated in Bali. They're trying to expand it to 5 other cities within Indonesia. So if they're successful in that, what goes along with that often is the hotel sector expansion. We do see a lot of hotels expanding, like smaller hotels, like everywhere across the board, especially on Java Island. But like to see the resorts that you see, the international name brand resorts, and like those are concentrated in the bigger cities, especially Bali. But yeah, that is driving a lot of that. If in a lot of restaurants here, they're dry because of the if you want to be a halal restaurant, you don't serve alcohol. So the alcohol is definitely going more towards tourism facing restaurants, tourism facing hotels. Novi, if you're on the line, do you have any comment on that? Novi is a much bigger expert on this. I don't know if she's joined us or not, our marketing specialist.
Yes, I'm joining this call.
Yeah. Any more comments on what's driving the wine imports here, since you work so much
Yes,
with the wine folks?
so actually, especially after the pandemic, the wine import is getting better now. And then the distribution of wine, it is centered in Jakarta and Bali, like almost 80% only for those two cities. And then right now, they are increasing wine from, especially from South America, like Chile, because they are doing very active for the promotions. And our office also very close work with the wine importer, especially because every year we do promotion, and we call it as American wine and food celebrations. Thank you.
Right. So I just want to ask one question, just to add on to it itself, right? So, I think just to add on the wine itself, I think Pak Aliang from Kaifa, right? He actually has a license for wine imports recently. So I thought maybe you can ask him a little bit about his experience, how he got the license and how long it took him to do that, just to give everybody an understanding of how long it takes to get things done in Indonesia. But you need to unmute
Hi,
first.
hello everyone. Good morning. Sorry. So for now, actually, the wine registration we need to import through the company they already approved with the IT. So for now, we have the license only for distributor. After 3 years, and then we can apply to IT. So you can do direct import. So for now, we still using another partner who import for us. So it takes, I think for the distributor, it takes like about like 6 months to get the license. For the IT, I think it's about like 1 year to get the import license.
So
Yes,
just to
that's
understand, right?
Yes, that's correct,
Go
Pak
ahead, sorry.
Alian. So in general, the wine importers in Indonesia, they're about 15, less than 15, I think. And then the license valid for 1 year, usually every April. And then there is a kind of quota or limited based on the import realization that the importer can import from the previous year.
Just to share. So based on what you hear, right, the process for getting a license is not so straightforward. So when you speak to somebody who wants to import wine, right, it can take them anywhere from about a year all the way to 3-4 years before they can do direct import from you. They have to go through a partner first to do the imports, rather than you have to do a direct import with you. So that's done something about here. I think later on, if you get a chance, we can touch a little bit about dairy as well. Dairy goes through a very similar process to, I think, about 3 to 4 years before they can get the license to import as well. I think that's something that Jasmine touched on earlier on, about how difficult it is to get dairy facilities certified as well. So I think there are some more questions. Chloe, you want to just ask a little bit, something for Malaysia maybe?
Yes, of course. I can maybe do a few of the chat question if you want. There was just a follow-up to your to the wine. Do you know what the alcohol import tax is?
Ibu, you can do that.
Novi, go
yes,
ahead, Novi.
Yeah, you mean for Indonesia, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically the import tariff 90%.
Yes, 90%.
90, yes. And then there is additional what you call tax, like 40,000 rupiah per liters.
Yes, for the labels.
Thank you. And are there any FTAs under discussion in Malaysia or Indonesia?
For Malaysia,
Maybe Karen, yeah.
I was just gonna say,
Karen,
for
yeah.
Malaysia, we it comes up and then it kind of goes away, and then it comes up and it kind of goes away. It's certainly something that I would not say is gone. It's something that we kind of keep wanting to bring up and bring up. Right now, it's on the back burner. I hope that in the future this is something that we can bring up again with Malaysia. It's definitely something that people want.
Yeah,
I
same here
wanted
with
to change.
Indonesia. Oh, sorry, Tom.
Oh, go ahead, Jasmine, please.
Same thing with Indonesia. There are just so many problems that the Indonesian government would have to fix, and yeah, it's not even on the back burner for us. I don't know what's past the back burner, but yeah, it's there's no FTA in sight. There have been quasi FTA agreements that have everything except trade going on with the U.S. government and Indonesian government, but they purposely kind of carved out trade, particularly the trade that we're interested in, the more sensitive agriculture, food and agriculture trade. Is not on the table and anything that we're discussing with them now.
So I
Thank you.
wanted to also want to just clearly add a little bit. It's not easy for us to do business in these markets, but at the same time, right, we do have two very successful importers here. Aliang and Jay here from Indonesia and Malaysia. So maybe we can just ask them a little bit of question about what kind of successful products they have imported into Malaysia, and then what's the experience with it? Maybe I can start with Jay. Jay, can you share a little bit about good products that you have brought in?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, just a brief introduction. I'm Jay. I'm from AIT Fine Food. So, it's a small import distributions company based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So, we have around 20 plus 30 of us, and we have been doing this business for more than 20 years now. So, okay, we import from all over the world. Of course, US is one of the primary main country that we import from since the beginning. And we have actually have like a kind of like a two set of portfolio. One is more on mainly on the trade side, where we actually trade a lot of mainstream national brands consolidate from West Coast US. Then the other one is more on the core brand, where we refer to it as a core brand. So that's the brand that we actually put more focus, marketing efforts, A&P and stuff like that. So as for the brand, we have been working with a few core brands, and the most recent one is Nature Path cereal. Then it's still it's quite new. It's only our second or third containers for the years, and we are still building it. It's not easy with the current exchange rate and shipping issue, war, high material costs and stuff like that. Another brand that we are working on for a longer time is Hers, the snacks coming from the East Coast. And we used to get it from so-called export agents. And for some times before we swap to direct import with the manufacturer. So yeah, so it's been doing quite all right. So we are doing around 4 or 5 container a year. Yeah, and compared to what we see in the market as for the stacks, obviously, of course, a lot of the main core brand, PepsiCo, currently are producing in China, and the price is very competitive. So that's why, yeah. So coming from US is always a challenge, especially on the price point.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, that's what we do with the US.
Great. Thanks, Jay. Just to check yourself, between in terms of US products itself, right? Are we looking at more premium products or just regular, lower cost snacks kind of thing? Which one do better? Is it the premium ones or the lower cost ones?
Uh, Actually depends on the client. So we are currently working with we used to work with the more premium set of clients like the Mercato Cold Storage, Village Grocers, yeah. So what we do is we work very closely with those clients to identify what is needed uh, as the gap. We call it the gap in the market. So the gap, of course, will be vary depending on where's the direction is for each of the client.
Mm.
And regarding we do import some uh, uh, high-end premium items coming from, let's say, Europe, like some how to say handmade
Strip wafer.
condiments, handmade condiments coming from UK's, from Italy, from Spain. But from and we do have like more low end items coming from different part of the world just to serve the uh, we call it a hypermarket. So because we have like let's say GCH is a group of retail change. They have like three set of different retails concept. So we have like Cold Storage Mercato for the high end, then we have TMC in the middle, and Giant at the lower end. So if we are to source certain things for, let's say, Giant, then it definitely have to be low end, and you have to be halal.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Jay. I want to ask you at the same time, but do you have anything you want to share about, what is one product that was very successful for you? And how difficult, how easy was it to get through from the US to you?
Um, so for now, we import the baking soda and also the Swiss Miss from Conagra. So basically, US product is more famous. I mean, in the term of like packaging and everything, also the branding. For Indonesia, we get used to with the US product. So when we import to Indonesia, we don't have the free trade. So the price will be higher, and we can say it's a bit premium. Yeah.
Great. Thanks. Yeah. So one thing is that the most product comes into to these countries itself, right? From US, typically they are considered more premium just by virtue of the fact that it's more difficult to bring in, the exchange rate is higher. So this is a thing itself.
Yes.
I also want to bring, just maybe switch the questions to, to Karen and Jasmine, what are some of the pitfalls you think that, for exporters, they should avoid when they actually try to export to Indonesia and Malaysia? Some of the things you can see one big pitfall. Karen, you want to start?
Sure. I don't know if I would call it a pitfall, but one of the things, and I think Jasmine kind of touched on this for Indonesia, is we recommend working really closely with your agent or your importer to bring things into Malaysia, because if there are any errors in that permit or the license or your registration or the labeling, you can get caught up in in the port for days, weeks, months. It can cost you fines, or your shipment can go bad. So make sure that everything is correct on the front end. And I'll just add that, Jasmine said the sometimes the requests, the permits will ask for the boot size and pictures. We see that too in Malaysia. And sometimes what the practice has been in the past is that Malaysia has just, been sending these out, kind of like casting, a wide net to get whatever they can. And then our exporters just don't fill out and, whatever. What we've been seeing recently is that Malaysia is now asking for more and more and more, even though they don't necessarily know what they want. So please work closely with your importers, ask questions. Have you been seeing any more, stop shipments? Is Malaysia asking for more information on these permits or licenses? Because I don't want to see stop shipments. So make sure you're asking those questions. Fill out things as much as you can. I understand Malaysia might be asking some ridiculous questions, like literally they will ask your shoe size. Probably you don't need to provide that, but make sure do your research and find out how much do you need to put down on those, and make sure that
I think we lost her.
Since Karen froze up a bit, but as for Indonesia, like same thing. So just from what we've been hearing, we with our importer partners a lot, like Pak Aliang and other importers, and we hear some of the same themes, where maybe the U.S. supplier is not being responsive. So please be as responsive as possible if you want them to stick with you. The relationship needs to be very close. And like Karen was saying, each individual inspector or border customs officer might, for his own personal gain, ask for something random that wasn't enforced last time, but it's being enforced this time. So maybe you're importer will need something really quickly from you. So if you don't have WhatsApp yet, please get that. The email is just not fast enough these days. So just arrange a form of communication where you can be responsive to whatever weird thing that they need. And if they do ask you for a weird thing, please don't take it personally against the importer. It's just they're working in a very challenging environment where the officials are incentivized to make things as hard as possible. They're going to ask for weird things, just to make things difficult, or get a little something on the side. So please just work as closely as possible and be flexible. One complaint that we hear over and over is vis-a-vis other suppliers around the world, American companies are very rigid with quantity, with packaging, with a whole slew of things. So if you want to be competitive, not just in our market, but around the world, like you can compete against the big guys. You can compete against the Coca-Colas and PepsiCos of the world if you can give the flexibility that they can't. If you can do different forms of packaging, different quantities, different whatever it is the importer needs from you, that kind of flexibility, you can compete with the bigger guys who can't because they're just so stuck in like their format, their current format. So that's what I have to add.
Thanks, Jasmine. Thanks, Karen. So just to add a little bit, right? I think one of the things that you realized, a lot of time the buyers they are working with the exporters. A lot of them are actually very senior management, very long term in the company, or they are actually owners of the company. So building a relationship helps you a lot to enforce that as well. And again, the same thing is, the easiest way to communicate a lot of times actually to WhatsApp. Just getting an IM, getting whether it's WhatsApp, Messenger, or something, whatever the supplier, the buyer is using, work with them on that. It's much easier for you to actually export to talk to them, because different time zone, different thing. They may not respond to your email immediately, but they will respond to your messaging. That's the other thing. I think there was one question about halal certification. So for these areas, if I can add, there are some halal certifying bodies in the US that can certify across both Malaysia and Indonesia and Singapore. So it's like a Venn diagram, where the circles meet. So some of them do, and it makes sense to actually get something that is applicable across all three countries. But again, as what Jasmine and maybe Jasmine especially would say, a lot of times the rules will change overnight as well. So do check with the certifying bodies. They are a business. Get the best deal you can out of it as well. Yeah, I think at this time, is there any more questions here? If not, I can ask one here. I wanted to ask one was that for supplying to for Jay itself, what's one thing that you really enjoy working with the US, what's one thing you really enjoy working with US suppliers, and what is one thing that you really hate? So maybe both Jay and Aliang can share. Yeah, I mean, let's be frank about it. Yep, go ahead.
Aliang, wanna go first?
Yeah.
For me, actually, the one we love to work with the US product is like the product we bring, the design is very good, and then for us as an importer, we have a pride when we distribute the US product. But when we had to work with them, they respond very slowly, especially during when the containers arrive. Then we need another document to declare the container. That's all.
Documentation. Okay.
Yes,
Documentation response. Okay, good.
correct.
Thank you. How about
So
Jay?
yeah, for me, of course, US have a it's recognized for the consistent quality standards, and communications definitely will be clearer compared to let's say most of the Europes, and supply chains much better. Regulatory compliances, yeah, and then of course US come up with a lot of innovative products you know, throughout the year, especially from those national brands. You know, every quarter they will have like new stuff coming out, new innovative stuff coming out. Basically, yeah, definitely US is the trendsetter. So whatever we do, like in the market, how we want to do it, we always refer to the US, the states, and what they're doing with all those snacks, cooking materials, and stuff like that. And obviously, of course, the US have more brand recognitions. Yeah,
Okay.
that's about it.
Great. Yep. Thanks. Any other comments from you want to share? I think we have about 10 minutes. I saw one question here was about, apple cider. Is there any opportunities for apple cider? I don't think, Jay, you don't do alcohol, right?
I don't do alcohol. Yeah, I don't do
Okay,
alcohol.
okay.
It's complicated.
So maybe Karen, Jasmine, or Pak Aliang can share a little bit about apple cider. What do you think? Is it doable in your market?
Apple cider. We
Hard
never
cider.
do
Hard cider.
apple cider. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Don't have.
just now
Okay.
we just starting with the wine only.
Okay.
No, Novi, do you see potential for apple cider in Indonesia?
Yeah, I don't see much that product, but like basically in Indonesia we follow the trends of the young generation. Like for example, there is some like K-pop or Japan culture. Then we see a lot of sake in the market within the past 5 years. But for apple cider, don't see much in the market right now.
Yeah.
I think for Southeast Asia, what I traveled and I see, right, there's a lot more different varieties, different forms of ready to drink mixes. So it can be, for example, like your Jim Beam and cola kind of thing, all ready. Those are actually more popular among the young people. They buy at convenience stores, things like that. I mean, legit means they're above the drinking age, and these are the alcohol products itself. So that's quite common there. I think the other question was about, I think for Sean, about the is there a market coming in for purchasing second? Is there a premium market happening in Borneo, which is the new capital is going to be? Is there any opportunities there?
From my I think for now Borneo is not yet. So for now our supplier chain is better like centralized in still Jakarta, Bali, and the big city. Borneo, Balikpapan, I think in the next 5 years maybe. We're not sure yet.
Okay, that's a good one. Thank you so much. Then last but not least, right, I wanted to maybe just spend a few minutes just for both Jay and for Aliang, right? Pak Aliang, to share a little bit about how do you import the product? What kind of registration process? Just a quick 2-3 minutes. How does it go through? Just to understand a little bit. Pak Aliang, maybe
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
start
yeah.
first. Yeah.
It's all right. So
Yeah,
let me start first. Of course, I'll have an assistant to help me to do the import. And so okay. So in current environment, I should say, because high currency exchange rate against US dollar, Malaysian ringgit to US dollar. So what we do is we do a lot of trial. As you know, listing a product on a supermarket shelf is very expensive. So what we do as a importer, obviously, of course, we will have a model that we actually work very closely with various retail chains, and to offer something like a trial kind of a period on products to be introduced. So obviously, using the word trial means that you have to perform in order to get it listed. So during the trial, obviously, of course, you can throw out some activation funds and some sampling and stuff like that just to test the market. And you don't get a permanent space on the shelf. You can probably have some small events, some corners in the supermarket to let you do the trial. And probably you take like out of like 30s in the chain, you'll get like 5 store, 10 store, high traffics. So this is what we're trying to adjust in this kind of environment, especially with the uh, high cost environment. And yeah, so this is how we try to adapt in the current market.
Aliang, how about you?
Oh, for us, Indonesia, we have more challenge. So if we're not sure for this product, we will not proceed to the registration, because before we can import, we need to go to the FDA, and it takes like 6 to 9 months. And then when it comes to import, we need to import like full container. Otherwise, the import fee is very expensive to Indonesia. So for us, we need to be sure before we launch the product.
Cool. Okay. I'm going to just ask maybe Jasmine if you can share a little bit about anything you want to share about how to do business successfully as an exporter to the market itself. I think earlier on, I think it was yourself, you shared working very closely with the importer. That's very key. Is there anything else you want to share to add to that, besides giving them your shoe size?
Give them the shoe size. So the number one thing, if you're brand new to this market, is I'll plug in our reports again. Our reports are very detailed, and you can quickly exclude or include Indonesia in your company's plans. If you choose not to come to our market, it won't hurt our feelings. I would rather you be your expectations be tempered and know what you're getting into, and you're happy with what you're getting into, rather than come in here and then get disappointed, lose lots of money, and then leave the market bitter. And we have seen that. This market is very hard to get into. However, do keep in mind that it is hard for everybody. So if you do crack in there and you do get a foothold in Indonesia, and you find a good partner like Pak Aliang here, they will work with you, but it's a very big commitment. It will take several years. Like Pak Aliang mentioned, getting approval from the government on many fronts, the halal front, the food safety front, with their version of FDA. So it's not going to be done overnight. You're not just going to be able to export your product here tomorrow. But if your product does make it here, and you're consistent and you make it easy for the importer, and you're ready to turn around and give whatever ridiculous document that they want, then you will have that niche here. And everybody else who's trying to get in, they'll throw up their hands and go, oh, it's not worth it. So now your product is in this market, and it's protected from a lot of competition, because you went through all the hoops, you did all the hard work, and now you're here. So there's those are the trade-offs. It's very difficult to get into here, but once you're here, you know the market well, you have a very good relationship with your importer, then you can expand to other products. You can say, okay, well, we did a great job working together, getting this product into the market. Now we have this other product, and now you'll have that kind of like pathway paved to bring along other products on the way. So.
Great, thanks. Chloe, I think we have 2 more questions that I missed out here. So I thought maybe we can address those.
Yes, of course. Yeah. One is, what is the biggest piece of advice you can give companies that are looking to break into the ASEAN market or maybe new to doing business in Asian markets?
Maybe we can ask Jay. And I mean, this question is from Michelle from Idaho. So I'm just going to shout out to her.
Sorry,
Jay, you want to
again?
share
Question again?
what's the biggest piece of advice to exporters looking to break into the ASEAN market or maybe new to doing business?
I
think, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Also, of course, you have to have a very good products that, you know, and definitely you have to be in trend. And currently, a lot of the buyers actually looking at, those social medias influencer as a guideline of what, the trend is. So for example, like uh, uh, the drinks, the Beast, Mr. Beast, one of it, and then the Prime drinks, of course. Yeah. So that is you have to be in trend. So another thing, of course, you have to for me in Malaysia, because Malaysia never a trendsetter. So what we do is we always try to get reference from places like Singapore, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Japan, and yeah. So what's reference to is obviously, of course, if you're able to set your foot into those places, obviously, of course, from me as in Malaysia, we able to see, oh, all right, this brand is already hitting Singapore, it's already hitting Hong Kong, Shanghai. So yeah, it might work for Malaysia. Why not, give it a try and see how it goes, and stuff like that. So yeah, that second criteria I'll be looking at. And thirdly, of course, you have like what just now you guys mentioned about the flexibility. So in Malaysia, we don't usually just go with it. Okay, I love this. I go with one container kind of thing. For me, I would love to do some trial. What we do is we identify the right retailer to do the testing and stuff like that for a period of time. And if it works, then we can go deeper on how we should develop the brand in the market. Yeah.
Good. Thanks for that. Thanks, Jay. That's very good. But do you can share a little bit?
For me, it's same like Jay. Because like Indonesia, almost same like Malaysia. We are more like attractive for the like good packaging, good taste, and also like because like Indonesia, we more focus on the social media. We look the product as well from the social media. So for now, like TikTok is very big in Indonesia, and then now they are starting to like searching the product from the China, but I'm not sure the taste look like. But everyone is keep seeing advertising in TikTok. So some of our brand we also do the TikTok like a arm and baking, so arm and hammer, how they clean the laundry, cleaning everything, and then can use for everything. It's a good advertising in TikTok actually.
Good. Thanks, Bart. So I think one of the things for us to take away here is that a lot of the things that are trendy works a lot very well. And things that are products that are really available in matured market, like for example, Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, all this, right? I think these are good reference points that if your products, as an exporter, if your products are really in those markets, that'll be a selling point for the importers in these markets, in Southeast Asia. To them, it's actually a mark that your product is mature enough to be exported to those markets. You know how to handle Asian market as well. And I want to say that internally in the US, right, if your products are really available nationwide in the, big chains, be it like, Walmart or be it like, Fred Meyer's, do mention those, because those are actually also to the importers in Southeast Asia. They are familiar with also the US retail scene, and having your products on those shelves tells them that your product is really tested, it's really available, and it's something that is widely pre-qualified, so to speak. Yeah, cool. Last but not least, I think the one question we have is that what I think for Jasmine and everybody in the panelists, what are the good trade shows to attend to break into this market? Any trade shows? I think one mention was FHA, but anything else about it? Jasmine, any shows that you think we should go to?
So we try to go here locally to as many of them as possible, but we even go to neighboring ones. So Food Hotel Asia in Singapore, we visited that and supported our importers there. But within Indonesia, the trade shows are really proliferating now. So I would recommend you do your research, and it could be something as simple as you ask your importers, like, where are the importers going now? Because one trade show might be popular one year and then one won't, and then you don't want to pay all this money to exhibit your products and then get no foot traffic. But Food Hotel Indonesia is coming up, and we're actually taking a trade delegation there. The governor of Nebraska is coming with some ranchers and some other representatives of their products here. So we're going to take them there to heighten the profile of Nebraska products. But then food ingredients, the food ingredients show here is also popular, but again, it's a different segment. It's not as many consumers come to there. So if you're trying to up the profile of your product with consumers and drive up the consumer demand, that might not be the best choice for you. But I would say check with your importer and decide which of the many trade shows now all around the world they'll be heading to, and whatever one's popular now, and head for that one so you get the best bang for your buck.
Cool. How about I know Jay and Aliang itself. I met both of you at TIFEX, so there's another big show. Any other shows that you all go to in the region that is big for packaged products?
Basically, just TIFEX and FHA for me.
Yeah, same.
Okay. FHA, TIFEX. Okay, so these are the good ones. So TIFEX, FHA. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Thomas, I want to add for Indonesian trade show. So there is one trade show in Indonesia. It's called Sial Interfood. It is good for packaged food. Usually happens in November.
Okay. Good. That's a good one as well. See how it's getting big. I think we are about done. Chloe, do you want to help you just wrap it up?
Yes, of course. Yeah, well, thank you so much for everyone joining our webinar today, and special thanks to all our panelists and speakers for providing really great insights in Indonesia and Malaysia. It's much appreciated, and of course, we will follow up after the webinar with the recording as well as other resources as well. But thank you so much, and